Our second reading is taken from the book of Deuteronomy. Only take heed to yourself and diligently keep yourself, lest you forget the things your eyes have seen, and lest they depart from your heart all the days of your life, and teach them to your children and your grandchildren, especially concerning the day you stood before the Lord your God in Horeb. And the Lord said to me, gather the people to me, and I will let them hear my words, that they may learn to fear me all the days they live on the earth, and that they may teach their children. Then you came near and stood at the foot of the mountain, and the mountain burned with fire to the midst of heaven, with darkness, cloud, and thick darkness. And the Lord spoke to you out of the midst of the fire. You heard the sound of the words, but saw no form. You only heard a voice. So he declared to you his covenant, which he commanded you to perform, the 10 Commandments, and he wrote them on the 2 tablets of stone. And the Lord commanded me at the time to teach you statutes and judgments, that you might observe them in the land which you cross over to possess. Our further reading is taken from work Heavenly Secrets, part of our New Church Teachings, 8620. Write this for a memorial in the book means for everlasting remembrance. This is clear from the meaning of a memorial, as the which should serve to remind, to bring to remembrance, dealt with above, and from the meaning of a writing in the book as to serve as an everlasting reminder. This is the meaning of writing in a book in Isaiah. Come, write on a tablet among them, and express it in a book, so that it may be for the time to come, forever, even to eternity. Since remembrance is meant by writing in a book, true believers are therefore said to have been written in the book of life. For salvation is meant by God's remembering, and damnation by His not remembering or His forgetting. What would you like to keep and cherish in your mind, hopefully for a long time? There are quite a few things we fear to forget, where we like to recall meaningful anniversaries to refresh and deepen our relationships with loved ones. We need to remember thankful people so that we may honor their kindness and sacrifices. And we'd better bear in mind the Lord's teachings to benefit our spiritual welfare. Remembrance seems to be a powerful tool that makes our old memories and knowledge present and meaningful. It connects us with others in those pleasant memories. This morning we remember those many men and women who risked and sacrificed their precious lives in fighting for freedom during war and peacekeeping missions. Moreover, remembering has great benefits for us. The Lord said, "Greater love has no one than this, than to lay down one's life for his friends." It is an extremely honorable act to risk or give up one's life beyond personal purpose. All human beings are born with the love of self, which instinctively puts oneself and cares about one's own safety and welfare above others, before others. Those soldiers who went into a series of battles and fought for freedom and democracy were able to overcome their inborn love and sacrifice themselves for the sake of their country, higher cause. Our country is a bigger and higher neighbor than my loved ones and close friends. The heavenly doctrines for the new church state, it is important to know that if people love their country and benefit it because they wish it well, they love the Lord's kingdom after death. The Lord's kingdom is their country at that point. And those who love the Lord's kingdom love the Lord, since the Lord is everything to all his kingdom. Remembering the noble acts of servicemen and women is important and beneficial. Remembrance helps us acknowledge the values and beliefs those men and women fought to preserve. Remembrance also leads us to cherish the cause of their sacrifices and to recognize our responsibility to carry on the noble tradition. Thus, remembrance is a powerful tool that brings us to necessary awareness and connects us with their values and ideals. Remembrance is a necessary component of our spiritual life too. Such power is reflected in the scripture where remembrance symbolically means connection or joining together, conjunction. The heavenly doctrines teach us that the reason remembering means joining together, conjunction, is that in the next life, the remembrance of a person links one up with him. For as soon as any spirit calls another spirit to mind, the latter becomes present with him, so fully that the two can converse with each other. We all want to be perpetually remembered by our loved ones, spouses, children, and friends. In a more ambitious case, we want to be remembered throughout history, through generations and generations. We wish to be remembered by the Lord more than we wish to be remembered by any human being. The psalmist prayed, saying, I am miserable and poor. Lord, remember me. We hope the Lord remembers us while we are overwhelmed by sadness, burdens, and pains. We hope He doesn't forget about us when we are left alone too long on earth. The Lord's remembering has several important spiritual meanings as we wish the Lord's care and help to be present with us at various crucial moments and stages in our lives. We acknowledge the Lord in His infinite love toward us, and subsequently in His truth. His love is, in a sense, completely incomprehensible to finite humans. For from this love, through the truth, all things and all creatures come forth and subsist, both those who have life and those who have not. This love from the inmost of life in the Lord flows into every being, leading to the particular end, which is that the human race might be saved. So this supreme love is sensed and shared in our spiritual loves, such as love to the Lord, charity, love of a country, etc. However, the human condition is often far removed from that ideal state and sunk in diabolical sins and evils. As a result, being stuck in miseries and agonies, When this infernal condition is looked upon by the Lord from His divine love, and His elevating and delivering us out of hell is called mercy. Mercy is defined as divine love that is applied to our fallen condition. The Lord's mercy reaches us when we need it most. When do we need the Lord's help and mercy? Do we need it only when we are able to recognize our challenges and deal with them? Actually, we cannot be sustained without the Lord's continually flowing life, providence, caring. The Lord's remembrance in His mercies is operated in His foresight and providence. Remembering implies seeing to our needs, whether we are aware of it or not. We often tend to pay attention to our misfortunes, mishaps, and burdens in our daily earthly life, while being insensitive and negligent to the dangers and failures in our spiritual duties and spiritual life. Yet the Lord sees our spiritual needs and provides us with what is necessary to mitigate our inclination to evils and increase our heavenly remains. We want the Lord to remember us, especially while we are in those times of need. But we don't want Him to remember our misbehaviors and wrongdoings. King David implores, "Remember, O Lord, your tender mercies and your loving kindness. Do not remember the sins of my youth, nor my transgressions." Our prayer resonates with His. In the Word, there are places which say of Jehovah and the Lord that He remembers or does not remember. When either is said of Him, the meaning is that His deliverance and help is done out of mercy. Such things are said of Him on account of His being likened to a person. For when a person turns away from the Lord, as is the case, when he does anything bad, it seems to the person, since the Lord is now behind his back, as though the Lord fails to see him, indeed fails to remember him, when in fact the failure is in the person, not in the Lord. Strictly speaking, remembering or recollecting to mind cannot be predicated of the Lord, because things past and future are in Him eternal. That is, are present from eternity to eternity. We read, "Remembering cannot predicate it of the Lord, because from eternity He knows all things, both in general and in particular. But to have mercy is what is predicated of Him, because He knows that such is man's character, that is to say, as before said, that man's own is infernal, and that it is his very hell." The Lord's forgetfulness of us isn't our concern, because it can't happen. It is not possible in divine nature. Rather, we need to worry about our forgetfulness of Him. Considering the power and the practical benefit of remembrance, we shouldn't forget the Lord, who is our Creator and Sustainer. The Lord anxiously wanted to be remembered by His people, the Israelites. Whenever there was any major event, such as a victory in war, a safe journey, or an amazing miracle, the Lord didn't miss those opportunities to inscribe his name on their hearts. And he commanded them to remember him who performed those works for the Israelites. To relate to us, the Lord said, "Beware that you do not forget the Lord your God by not keeping his commandments, his judgments, and his statutes, which I command you today." The Lord also commanded at the institution of the Holy Supper, saying, "This is my body, which is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me." The Lord doesn't seek any glory, any honor from any human beings. The Lord appears to demand humility, worship, thanksgiving, and much else from a person, which seems like repayment from us. But he does not demand anything for his own sake. For the divine derives no glory at all from a person's humility, worship, or thanksgiving. Rather, they are required for a person's own sake. For if someone possesses humility, the Lord is able to accept, that person is able to accept goodness and truth from the Lord. Moreover, the Lord wanted the Israelites to write their experiences of him and his wondrous works, saying, "Only take heed to yourself and diligently keep yourself, lest you forget the things your eyes have seen, and lest they depart from your heart all the days of your life, and teach them to your children and your grandchildren." Though remembrance has many spiritual benefits, it is not always good to remember. Especially in the other world, the spirits and angels do not remember their former lives on earth. They have no memory of their names, occupations, and even their evils. The spiritual world is quite different from our natural world. Neither do the earthly and natural things have their uses in the other world, nor do they enter the spiritual concepts and ideas. We don't have to remember our all passwords and job descriptions there. The problem is that if we keep trying to think, desire, and act from those earthly, material memories of the body, it is much better to understand all individual things that present themselves in the other life, and to learn them in a spiritual manner. Clinging to the memories of the former life blocks our spiritual growth. Remembering the details of the past leads a person to conjecture and weigh the future. The angels think and act in a far more excellent manner than man. We read, "Conjecture about what is to come, and the remembrance of the past are what take away every pleasantness and felicity of life. Hence come anxieties, cares, and solicitudes." The principal cause is that angels have no memory of the past as regards such things as are external, but as regards such things as the internal, like various loves and understandings of the Lord's teachings. Yet whence or how these things are learned, they do not remember. They just keep the gist of it. This morning, we honor and remember those who fought for our country in the presence of the Lord. If we do not remember them, the values and beliefs they fought for will not be treasured. We are further enlightened as to the importance of remembering our spiritual labors and values. Who is the highest neighbor to us? The Lord is whom we should love and remember more than anyone, including ourselves. The Lord commands us to worship and thank Him in our humiliation. He requires them so that He may dwell in us and be able to help us and bless us. As a result, He may save us. The Lord and His love are remembered in His mercy. Our fallen and degenerate condition is far removed from the ideal state the Lord has created. The Lord's infinite and supreme love is received as the mercy that reaches us where we are spiritually placed and relieves us of our immersion in the self and the world. His mercy is continually flowing into us, whether we are aware of it or not, because He sees our needs and knows our conditions and states. To Him, all the future is present, and all the present is eternal. It is impossible for Him to forget about us, every single individual. The Lord's sole purpose of being merciful is to save all of us. His love and mercy are given for this sole purpose. His remembrance means His salvation. Then how can He forget about us? It is always us who forget the Lord and His mercy. We also need to remember the Lord in His truth. His truth is essential to our Christian life because it is the way in which we are consciously connected with the Lord and effectively preserved in trials and temptations. Swedenborg experienced this. I perceived the change of state as regards the good and truth in which I had been previously. It was of such a nature that it was delightful and pleasant to me. Afterwards, I was in a similar condition, and not in delight and pleasantness, but yet there was an influx into the remembered truth, that state had been one in which I was delighted. Therefore, I was sustained, and I fought against an inclination to abandon goodness and truth. Although remembrance has a great benefit, we will not be allowed to remember our earthly lives in the spiritual world. Our former memories will limit our willingness and capability to learn new things and extend our understanding and caring. The memory of the past also will lead us to worry about the future, which will take away our heavenly felicity. Thus, we will not remember the mundane, external, and unnecessary memories in the other world, so that our whole life may be entirely focused on what we should know and remember for the sake of our eternal happiness and peace. We read, Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all His benefits. Amen.